Okay, guys, so this is 223 and kind of a little bit 221. I'm seeing a disconnect here with the connections of the neurons when I'm looking at your stuff. So you have everything always starts with a sensory neuron. Nothing starts with the brain because the brain has no senses into it. Everything goes to, well, not everything goes to the brain, you'll see that in a second, but it all starts with this sensory neuron. So we have touch sensors in our skin. We have eye sensory neurons. The optic nerve is a sensory neuron. We have neurons in our nose, in our nose to get to the olfactory bulb and for smell. We have the auditory nerve in our ear. All right, so we all have these specialized sensory nerves that then send signals to the brain. So it always starts with the sensory nerve. All right, before I move away from the sensory neuron we got these dendrites on here. And these dendrites are actually, depending on what it's doing, going to have to be highly specialized. Each sensory neuron is going to be slightly different. If it's for touch, there's going to be special pressure sensors on that dendrite in order to receive pressure signals. On the optic nerve, you're going to learn about this in the eye unit. We got rods and cones that register light and color. Auditory, you're going to learn more about that in the next class. We got these little hair cells that sense pressure and pick up the movement of pressure from sound. All right, so we got this stimulus that's getting our sensors. All right, now, depending on the pathway here, it always goes to an association or interneuron. And interneurons occur in the CNS. That's what our CNS is made of, all right? These aren't separate parts. Brains are made out of interneurons. Our spinal cord is made out of interneurons. All right, so the whole CNS here in the middle is made of interneurons. So it's going to connect to a dendrite on the interneuron. Now, if it's a reaction, we use our brain. So, for example, if someone touches us, it will react and we'll go to the parietal lobe here. And then we will then probably move away or touch back or whatever we're going to do, which we'll get to the motor neuron in a second. If we see something, that's going to go back to our occipital lobe, and we're going to see it, and then we're going to react. All right, so, and there's going to be several signals that are sent in here. So there's going to be a little maze of pathways with our brain processing what to do. So there's going to be several interneurons involved. All right, and then it sends it to the motor neuron. And the motor neuron, here's the dendrite, and now it has specialized axon terminals to connect with our muscle. All right, it's going to send that synapse across to our muscle. So what I'm seeing here is that you're thinking that a lot of you are thinking starts with the brain and goes right to the motor neuron. That's not the case. It always starts with the sensory neuron and goes in the brain. But then in special cases, we have these reflexes, and it only goes to the spinal cord. All right, so it only goes to the spine, which is made up of an interneuron, but it only really hits one interneuron, goes right to a motor neuron, and says react. And that's why reflexes are super fast and involuntary. We don't think about it. All right, they're involuntary. We don't think about it. Whereas reactions are voluntary. They're conscious thought. So fast, and then these are slower. I mean, not too much slower, and these can get better with practice. But this is super fast. But they can deteriorate when you get older too. There was one more thing I'm going to say, but I can't remember what it was at this point. Yeah, I mean, the only other thing is, so if it's not the eye, if it's touch, like in your leg, it's still going to hit interneurons in the spinal cord, all right? And then it's going to go to the brain. It's going to go up the spinal cord. So the spinal cord is made of a bunch of interneurons that could then go to the brain. And that should be helpful, hopefully.